Jared was not the type of person who liked crowds. Nova Prima Station was a marvel of human engineering, a floating city in orbit around a gas giant, but it had never been his idea of comfort. Too many people, too many blinking lights, too much noise. Yet, today, he found himself walking toward a small cafe tucked between the docking bays and the maintenance sectors. It wasn't much a little place, with soft neon lights and a faint smell of roasted coffee beans, but somehow, it felt alive in a way the rest of the station did not. Most cafes here were automated. Robots would serve synthetically brewed drinks humans rarely visited. But this one had a charm. It had small tables with rounded edges, warm lights, and soft music playing in the background. And most importantly, it had windows that looked out over the vast, star-strewn void. A view that always made Jared pause. No matter how many times he had seen it, Jared shuffled in, adjusting the straps of his bag, feeling the soft vibration of his boots on the polished floor. He scanned the cafe, taking in the few patrons, mostly humans, quietly typing or talking to each other, and a few aliens sipping their beverages through tubes that connected to their faces in strange but efficient ways. And then he saw her, Alara. She was sitting alone at a small corner table, a cup of steaming coffee in front of her. Her hair caught the light of the cafe in a way that made it look almost golden. Though the station lights were artificial, she wasn't looking at her tablet or talking to anyone. She was simply gazing out the window, staring at the swirling gas clouds of the planet below. Jared felt his stomach tighten. He had lived next to her for months in their shared residential module, passing her in corridors, elevators, and maintenance rooms. He had nodded politely, exchanged small talk, but never really talked to her. And now, seeing her here, so calm and separate from the hum of the station, something inside him pushed forward. He walked toward her table, unsure what he was going to say. His mind went blank as he drew closer, and the usual awkwardness rose in his chest. "Rough date?" he blurted. The words left his mouth before he could stop them. His face warmed instantly. He felt like a schoolboy who had said something foolish in front of the entire class. He braced himself for rejection, for embarrassment, for silence. Instead, she smiled, a small, knowing smile that made his heart skip. She didn't laugh, didn't look annoyed. She simply said, softly, "Maybe it's me and you." Jared blinked, then blinked again. He wanted to say something clever, something smooth, but no words came, so he just stood there, frozen, while she lifted her cup and took a slow sip, as if waiting for him to make the next move. Do you want to sit?" he finally managed. She gestured to the chair across from her. "Please." He sat down, feeling the chair creak beneath him. The cafe was quiet enough that he could hear the soft hiss of the coffee machine and the occasional laugh of other patrons. He tried to focus on something other than how close she was, how her presence seemed to make the air warmer. "So," he began awkwardly, "I didn't expect to see you here." Alara tilted her head slightly. "I come here when I need a break from the modules. You'd be surprised how refreshing it is to see stars while sipping something warm." She smiled again, a small curve that made her eyes sparkle. "Even if they're artificial stars projected on the window," Jared chuckled, the tension in his chest easing slightly. "Yeah, I get that. I like it too." He paused, then tried again. "So, rough date?" She laughed softly this time, a sound that was light and musical, unlike anything the station speakers could ever produce. "Maybe," she said, "but maybe not. Maybe it's something else. Something new." Jared didn't know what to say. Everything about her was magnetic, drawing him in with a force he had not felt in a long time. It wasn't just her beauty, it was the way she carried herself, the confidence, the mystery. Humans were rare on Nova Prima. Most people here were working, adjusting to life in space, relying on synthetic systems for everything. But Alara, she had something different, something distinctly human. They talked for a while after that. Small talk at first about the cafe, the view, the synthetic coffee that somehow tasted better than it should have. But soon, The conversation grew more personal. Jared found himself telling her things he usually kept to himself, the way he missed Earth sometimes, how he felt invisible in a crowd, how he liked to watch the stars and imagine what it would be like to travel beyond the station. Alara listened, really listened. She asked questions, laughed at the right moments, and offered insights that made him think differently about things he had always taken for granted. She had a way of seeing the ordinary as extraordinary, of finding beauty in small moments, and Jared felt something stirring in him. A recognition. A connection that went deeper than casual conversation. At one point, she leaned back in her chair and looked out the window again. "You know," she said softly, "there's something special about being human here. In a place filled with machines and aliens who calculate everything. We feel. We notice. We adapt. We find ways to make life more than just surviving." Jared nodded slowly, understanding exactly what she meant. He thought about the engineers, the scientists, the diplomats, many brilliant, many capable. But it was humans like him, like her, who could improvise, who could act on instinct, who could turn an ordinary moment into something unforgettable. That, he realized, was their advantage, their strength. The cafe began to fill up with new patrons, and the hum of conversation rose. But Jared and Alara stayed in their small bubble, talking quietly, sharing stories, and laughing. Hours seemed to pass like minutes. For the first time in a long time, Jared felt fully alive, fully present, fully human. As the station lights dimmed for the evening cycle, Alara finally stood up. "I should get going," she said. "But thank you. For this. For noticing. For talking." Jared felt a pang of disappointment but managed a smile. "I should be thanking you. For being you." She smiled again. That small, enigmatic curve that made his chest tighten. "Maybe we'll continue this adventure sometime," she said, and with that, she walked away, leaving Jared staring after her, feeling a mixture of awe, hope, and something he couldn't quite name. He lingered in the cafe for a few more minutes, sipping his coffee and watching the stars through the window. He realized something important. Even in a world of advanced technology, humans still had something that no machine, no alien, could replicate. The ability to connect, to feel, to notice, and to act on instinct. That small spark human ingenuity and emotion was rare, and it made life extraordinary. And as he finally stepped out of the cafe and back into the corridors of Nova Prima, Jared knew one thing for certain. This was only the beginning. Something about Alara, about the way she smiled, about the way humans could surprise even themselves. It made him believe in possibilities again, and he couldn't wait to see where this unexpected encounter would lead. The following days on Nova Prima Station felt different to Jared. The station's familiar hum of machinery, the distant chatter of humans and aliens, the cold glow of neon lights, all seemed sharper, more alive. Something had shifted in him. He couldn't stop thinking about Alara, her smile, the way she seemed to notice things others did not. It started with small moments. He would see her in places he never expected. One morning, while walking to the maintenance deck, he spotted her quietly observing the airlock systems. She wasn't there for work. She was simply watching, jotting notes in a small tablet. The way she tilted her head, squinting at the readings, suggested she understood things intuitively, something that fascinated Jared. "Morning," he said cautiously, trying not to seem too eager. She looked up and smiled. "Jared," she said, her voice calm, but with that same hint of mystery. "I like seeing patterns where others see noise. You know, it helps understand the station better." He frowned slightly, curious. "Patterns? Like what?" She gestured to the complex network of pipes and conduits. "The station has a rhythm. Flow rates, air pressure, maintenance cycles. If you watch closely, you notice irregularities, small glitches, things no AI or alien observer would bother with. Most rely on strict schedules. But we humans, We notice deviations. Intuitively, Jared blinked. She had a point. Humans had something different, an instinct, a natural curiosity, a flexibility that machines could not replicate. He had noticed it before in himself, in other humans, but seeing it in her, so calmly applied, made it real. He nodded slowly. I guess. I've never thought of it that way. Ilara smiled. Most people don't. They follow procedures, instructions, and routines. But humans, we can adapt. Sometimes we see things machines and aliens miss. And that can make all the difference. Jared couldn't help but notice the ease with which she spoke about it. She wasn't bragging. She was stating a truth, and in that truth, he felt a spark of pride not just in her, but in himself, in all humans. Later that day, while walking back to his quarters, Jared passed the communal observation deck. He often stopped there to watch the swirling storms of the gas giant below. Today, he was not alone. Ilara was already there, standing near the viewport, gazing down at the planet. You come here often? He asked, approaching quietly. She glanced at him. You could say that. There's something grounding about it. Makes you feel small, yet part of something bigger. He nodded, understanding. The vastness of space had a way of putting life into perspective, but then, something unusual caught his eye. A faint shimmer in the viewport. Almost like a reflection, but not quite. He frowned, and when he looked again, it was gone. Did you see that? He asked, pointing. Ilara's eyes followed his gesture. She studied the shimmer for a moment, then shook her head slightly. Sometimes, the station tricks us. Reflections, data streams, stray signals, or maybe someone else is watching. Jared blinked. Watching? Who? She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she tapped her tablet a few times, pulling up some schematics and data streams. It could be nothing. Or something. Some systems record more than we realize. Alien visitors, AI sensors. They see everything. But humans? We notice subtle signs. He felt a shiver. Nova Prima was full of life. Full of visitors from across the galaxy. Full of advanced technology. And yet, Ilara moved through it all with confidence, noticing things most ignored. Jared felt an odd mix of fear and admiration. Over the next few days, strange incidents began happening on the station. Power fluctuations, minor glitches in AI systems, small but unusual events. Jared saw Ilara responding to them not as a panicked observer, but as someone who understood patterns, someone who could anticipate consequences. One evening, while he was on his way to the café again, he overheard a conversation between two alien diplomats from the Zorvian sector. They were speaking in rapid clicks and tones, but he understood enough to catch the key words. Human anomaly. Unique emotional resonance. Unpredictable patterns. His mind raced. Could it be Ilara? Was she the human anomaly they were discussing? And if so, why was she here, moving quietly among them all, unnoticed except by those who looked closely? When he arrived at the café, Ilara was already there, sitting with a small cup of coffee. She looked up, smiled, and gestured for him to sit. You seem thoughtful, she said. He lowered himself into the chair across from her, hesitant. I overheard something. Alien diplomats. They were talking about humans. Anomalies. Emotional. Something. Her smile was small, almost secretive. Ah. Yes. Some aliens are fascinated by humans. They study us. Try to understand why we do what we do. Why we adapt. Why we notice things others miss. Sometimes it unnerves them. Sometimes they are curious. Jared leaned forward, lowering his voice. And you? She tapped her tablet lightly. I am human. I have my ways of noticing, of understanding. But the rest? That's not my concern. Let them wonder. It doesn't change who I am. or what I choose to do." Her confidence both comforted and unsettled him. There was an air of mystery about her, a sense that she was capable of far more than he had imagined. And somehow, that made her more human, not less. As they talked, Jared began to realize that the station itself seemed to respond to them. Systems behaved differently when they approached. Glitches became more visible. Patterns emerged that no one else noticed. He marveled at the human ability to perceive, to intuit, to improvise in ways that no AI or alien protocol could replicate. One evening, a small power surge caused part of the observation deck to shut down. Lights flickered, and some of the automated systems went offline. Panic might have spread if it were not for Alara. She guided Jared through the corridors, pointing out alternative pathways, showing him how to access backup systems. Together, they stabilized the area before anyone else even realized there was a problem. Jared felt a rush of pride, not just for what they accomplished, but for the way humans could act. Where systems failed, humans adapted. Where logic was limited, intuition triumphed. And in that moment, he felt closer to Alara than ever before. Bound not just by curiosity or attraction, but by shared capability, shared understanding. After the event, they returned to the cafe, breathing heavily but smiling. The night outside the window was quiet, the gas giant glowing softly below. "You know," Jared said, "you really do notice things that no one else does." Alara looked at him, her eyes calm and steady. "It's not magic. It's human nature. We can see. We can adapt. We can connect. That's our strength. And sometimes, that makes us special." Jared nodded, feeling a warmth in his chest. He had always known humans were different. But seeing it in action, experiencing it firsthand, was something else entirely. And seeing it in Alara, someone both mysterious and familiar, made him believe that humans could thrive, even in the most advanced, alien, and unpredictable environments. As he walked back to his quarters that night, he felt a sense of anticipation. Alara's presence had awakened something in him, a desire to observe more, to learn more, to see what humans were truly capable of. He realized that this was only the beginning. The station, with all its technology and alien visitors, was a playground for human ingenuity. And he wanted to explore it. With her. He didn't know what the future held, but he knew one thing. Wherever this connection with Alara led, he would see it through. Because humans had a way of noticing, of adapting, of finding their own path even in the vastness of space. And he was ready to follow that path. The Nova Prima station was quiet that morning, but not in the usual peaceful way. The soft hum of the life support systems and the faint whir of maintenance drones were punctuated by irregular sparks from the communication hub. Lights flickered in the observation deck, and small monitors showed error messages that should never appear in a station of this caliber. Jared noticed it first. He had been walking toward the cafe, thinking about Alara, replaying the last few days in his mind. The way she saw patterns, the way she understood the station, intuitively. But something was wrong, something bigger than a minor glitch. He rounded the corner and nearly collided with Alara. She was already moving with purpose, her tablet in hand, eyes scanning the system logs as she spoke rapidly to herself. "This isn't just a minor fluctuation," she said. "Some systems are locked in conflicting loops. If we don't intervene, parts of the station could shut down entirely." Jared swallowed hard. "How bad is it?" he asked. Alara didn't look up. "Potentially catastrophic. The AI maintenance network is overloaded, trying to correct errors it can't predict. Most humans would panic. Most aliens would defer to the AI. But we can improvise." Jared felt a strange mix of fear and admiration. Alara's calm confidence was contagious. Without another word, he followed her through the corridors, listening as she analyzed the readings and devised a plan. The first obstacle came quickly. A section of the corridor's automated doors refused to open, trapping them temporarily. The AI's voice echoed down the hall, calm and clinical. Access denied. Emergency protocols engaged. Alara knelt near the control panel, tapping her tablet. These systems aren't responding because they're trying to follow the wrong rules. If I override the commands manually, we can reroute power and stabilize the network. Jared hesitated. Won't the AI notice? She looked at him with a small, confident smile. Not in time. Machines can process rules faster than we can, but they can't adapt like humans. They don't improvise. We do. He followed her instructions carefully. Together, they bypassed the locked doors, rerouted auxiliary power, and started fixing the cascading failures. The station's AI monitored them, its calculations rapid, but every step Alara took seemed to anticipate the system's reaction. They reached the central hub, where screens displayed a tangle of errors, warnings, and flashing red lights. Aliens from different sectors had begun arriving, some observing, some offering suggestions. Yet no one could match the speed or creativity of human thought. Alara worked like a conductor, guiding Jared, turning improvised solutions into a rhythm that corrected the station's malfunctioning systems. See? She said, pointing to a monitor. The AI is trying to correct each error sequentially, but some depend on others. That's where humans shine. We can see relationships between problems and fix them in parallel. Jared nodded, understanding for the first time what she meant. Humans could see the bigger picture. They could improvise. They could notice connections that logic alone could not reveal. The AI, despite its immense computing power, was precise but limited. Humans, unpredictable, intuitive, and creative, were capable of solutions no machine could generate. Hours passed. Jared's hands were sore from tapping commands. His mind raced from analyzing data and following Alara's directions. Yet he felt alive in a way he never had before. Every human instinct he had, curiosity, intuition, the ability to improvise, was being used, tested, and rewarded. Finally, with one coordinated effort, they stabilized the central hub. Lights returned to normal, warning alarms ceased, and the monitors displayed green indicators across the board. The station was alive again. Jared exhaled heavily. We did it. Alara smiled, but it was not a smile of relief. It was a smile of recognition. We did it because we are human. Machines calculate. Aliens adapt in their own ways, but humans notice patterns, improvise, and connect things that others overlook. That is our strength. That is why we survive. As they walked through the corridors toward the café, Jared noticed small groups of station staff and visiting aliens murmuring among themselves. Some of the aliens seemed confused, even a little disturbed. Others were curious, observing how the humans had solved a problem that had left sophisticated AI and alien minds struggling. Alara glanced at him. See? They noticed too. They are beginning to understand what humans can do. Jared nodded slowly. It was true. Even in a universe filled with advanced technology and alien intelligence, humans had something uniquely valuable: creativity, adaptability, and intuition. That had just saved the station. By the time they reached the café, the usual patrons had returned, though many glanced at them with a mixture of awe and curiosity. They settled into a corner table, sipping their well-earned coffee, their hands still trembling slightly from adrenaline. "You were amazing," Jared said. "I've never seen anyone work like that." Alara shrugged, though her eyes held pride. "I just noticed what needed to be done. Humans have always done this, adapted to impossible situations, solved problems no one else could. We are survivors, inventors, explorers. We see opportunities others overlook." Jared couldn't stop smiling. I think I understand now. Humans really are special. Not just physically or emotionally, but mentally. Our creativity, our intuition, our ability to improvise, maybe that's the most important thing." Alara nodded. "Exactly. And we're only scratching the surface. Humans can do more than survive. We can thrive. Even here. Even in space. even with aliens and AI. They sat in silence for a while, watching the soft glow of the station lights and the distant planet below. Jared's mind kept returning to the earlier shimmer he had seen in the viewport. Could there be something more happening in the station? Something waiting to be discovered? Ilara must have read his thoughts. There are always mysteries, she said softly. The universe is full of them. And humans, we are meant to notice them, explore them, understand them. That's why we are here. That's why we matter. Jared felt a strange thrill. She was right. Even in a world of alien intelligence, advanced machines, and infinite data streams, humans had something no one else had. The ability to act on instinct, to notice patterns, to make connections, and to turn chaos into opportunity. Over the next few days, they continued to work together. Small tasks at first, fixing minor glitches, rerouting power, observing anomalies. But each time, Jared saw the same pattern. Where others failed or hesitated, humans succeeded. Ilara guided him patiently, showing him how to see the world differently, how to notice the unnoticed, and how to trust instinct. Jared felt a growing respect for her, not just for her intelligence, but for the way she exemplified the very best of humanity. In a station filled with advanced technology and alien minds, humans were unpredictable, creative, and uniquely capable. And with Ilara by his side, he realized that he could be more than he had ever imagined. One evening, as the station settled into its quiet night cycle, Jared and Ilara returned to the observation deck. The gas giant below was glowing in soft shades of orange and red, clouds swirling in endless motion. Jared felt small and insignificant, but in the right way. The universe was vast, full of mysteries, and yet humans had a place in it. Humans could adapt, explore, and thrive. Humans could make a difference. Ilara leaned on the railing, looking out at the swirling storms. You see, she said quietly, humans aren't just passengers in the universe. We are observers, creators, problem solvers. That is why we endure. That is why we matter. Jared nodded. And that's why I want to explore more with you. Learn more. Notice more. Maybe even do things no one else can do. Ilara glanced at him, a small, knowing smile curving her lips. Maybe it's me and you, after all. Jared felt a rush of warmth. It wasn't just a romantic thought, it was a promise. A promise that together, humans could face anything, adapt to anything, and uncover the extraordinary in the ordinary. And as the stars twinkled beyond the viewport, Jared knew that humans had an advantage unlike any other. The courage to act, the instinct to notice, and the creativity to turn chaos into opportunity. And with that advantage, they could survive and thrive in the most unexpected places. Days passed after the station crisis, but the memory of what they had accomplished together lingered like a quiet, glowing ember in Jared's mind. Nova Prima had returned to its normal rhythm, life support hums, AI-controlled systems, the occasional alien diplomat wandering through the corridors, but for Jared, nothing felt normal anymore. Ilara had become a constant presence in his thoughts. He saw patterns in her actions, small habits that were uniquely hers, the way she tapped her tablet with precision, the way she noticed the faintest anomaly in a system, even the way she tilted her head while listening. It all felt intentional, deliberate, yet effortless. He found himself walking to the cafe more often, though he had no plan. It wasn't just to see her. It was to experience the quiet moments, the small talks, the chance to feel connected in a place that felt almost like a human oasis amidst the mechanical and alien bustle of the station. When he arrived, he found her already there, seated in the same corner as before, her tablet open but untouched. She was staring out the window at the swirling gas giant below. Jared paused for a moment, watching her, feeling a strange warmth in his chest. She wasn't reading, she wasn't analyzing, she was simply observing, simply existing in a way that seemed profoundly human. "Morning," he said softly, not wanting to startle her. She turned, smiled, and gestured to the empty chair. "Good morning," she said. "Sit. I was just thinking. Sit. Jared sat down, careful not to disturb the quiet rhythm of the cafe. Thinking about what? He asked. Ilara's smile was small, thoughtful, as if she were weighing something invisible. About humans. About how we notice things, even when no one is looking. About how we connect sometimes without speaking, sometimes without even realizing it. Jared's brow furrowed slightly. Connect? Without speaking? She nodded. Yes. Humans have intuition. We can feel patterns, emotions, intentions. Machines calculate. Aliens observe. But humans, we feel. We sense. Sometimes we understand more by noticing subtle cues than by reading data. Jared considered her words. And slowly, he realized she was right. He thought about the past few days, how they had navigated the crisis, how they had solved problems no one else could. It hadn't been just logic or skill. It had been trust, intuition, and understanding each other without explicit instruction. That was a human advantage, and it was powerful. They sat in silence for a while, watching the distant storms of the gas giant swirl beneath them, the soft hum of the cafe, the hiss of the coffee machine, the occasional laughter of other patrons. It all felt soothing, like the background rhythm of life. Jared felt something stir inside him, a recognition that humans were capable of more than survival, more than adaptation. They were capable of connection, empathy, and shared understanding. You know, he said finally, I've never felt this way before. Not here, not on any station, not anywhere. I think it's because of you. Ilara's smile widened slightly, but there was a softness in her eyes that made his heart skip a beat. It's not just me, she said. It's both of us. Humans notice each other in ways that no one else can. We understand subtle signs, emotions, even intentions. That's why we connect. That's why we matter. Jared nodded, feeling the truth of her words resonate deeply. He thought about the way she had guided him through the crisis, the way they had worked seamlessly together, and the quiet moments in the cafe. Humans weren't just capable of brilliance, they were capable of understanding, of seeing the extraordinary in each other. Over the next few days, they spent more time together. They wandered through the observation deck, exploring new angles of the station they had never noticed before. They visited the small garden module, where zero-gravity plants floated lazily, and the sunlight of the artificial sun warmed their faces. They shared stories about Earth, about their families, about dreams they had never voiced to anyone else. Ilara's presence was comforting, yet invigorating. She made Jared feel alive, not in the rush of adrenaline from a crisis, but in the quiet awareness of being seen, of being understood. And he realized that humans, more than any other species on the station, could create this understanding, this shared experience. One evening, they returned to the cafe later than usual. The station was quiet, most patrons gone, leaving only the soft glow of the neon lights. They sat across from each other, cups of coffee steaming between them. I think, Jared began, his voice hesitant, that humans are meant to notice, to connect, to understand the world in ways others can't. Ilara nodded slowly. Exactly. That's why we survive, why we endure, why we explore. Humans have an instinct for connection, for adaptation, for discovery. Machines calculate, aliens adapt, but humans notice the invisible threads that bind everything together. Jared smiled, feeling a sense of awe. And I think, I want to explore those threads, not just in systems, not just in the station, but with you. Ilara's eyes sparkled, a mixture of amusement and understanding. Maybe it's me and you, she said softly, the same words that had sparked his journey weeks ago. Exploring, noticing, understanding. Together. They sat quietly, letting the words sink in. It wasn't just a romantic thought. It was a recognition of the human ability to connect, to create meaning, to thrive in ways no one else could. The station around them was alive, full of life and energy. Yet their quiet corner felt like a world of its own, a place where humans could flourish in ways both simple and extraordinary. As the night deepened, they walked to the observation deck. The gas giant below was glowing softly, clouds swirling like painted storms. Jared leaned against the railing, feeling the station's vibrations beneath his feet. "You know," he said, "I've never felt this alive before. Not in a crisis, not in work, not anywhere. But with you, I feel like humans really can make a difference, not just in machines or technology, but in life, in connection, in understanding." One time, Alara smiled, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Humans notice, Jared. That's our gift. And when we share it, when we notice each other, it becomes extraordinary." He nodded, feeling a warmth spread through him. The station, with all its advanced technology and alien presence, felt more alive than ever. And it wasn't because of machines or protocols, it was because of humans, their instincts, their empathy, their connection. They stayed there for a long while, watching the swirling storms, sharing silence and understanding. Jared realized that humans didn't just survive, they thrived. They created meaning, connection, and beauty, even in the most artificial, alien, and challenging environments. And with Alara by his side, he felt that potential more strongly than ever. Finally, as the station's night cycle began to dim the artificial sun, they walked back to the cafe. Jared felt a sense of anticipation, not for crisis or danger, but for discovery. Humans had an advantage, a gift, and a way of thriving in ways others could not. And together, he and Alara were beginning to explore what that truly meant. As they parted for the night, Jared watched her walk down the corridor, her movements confident, calm, and entirely human. He smiled, knowing that humans had something uniquely powerful: the ability to notice, to understand, and to connect. And in that realization, he felt hope, purpose, and a quiet excitement for what the future might hold. Nova Prima was full of mysteries, challenges, and life. But humans with curiosity, empathy, and intuition, could navigate it all. And maybe, just maybe, they could do it better together. Jared returned to his quarters that night with a renewed sense of purpose. Humans weren't just passengers on this station. They were observers, problem solvers, and connectors. And with Alara, he had found someone who shared that vision. Someone who embodied the best of what humanity could be. He lay awake, staring at the ceiling of his module, thinking about the swirling gas giant below, the quiet hum of the station, and the subtle, invisible threads that connected everything. And he knew, without a doubt, that humans had a way of noticing, a way of thriving, and a way of creating meaning that no machine, no alien, no system could replicate. And with Alara by his side, he was ready to explore it all. The days following the recent crisis on Nova Prima were calmer, but for Jared, life had changed. The station's hum, once background noise, now felt alive. Every flicker of a screen, every pulse of energy through the corridors, reminded him of the fragility and brilliance of life aboard the station. And most of all, it reminded him of Alara. He found her in the cafe again, naturally, quietly occupying the same corner. This time, she was not alone in her thoughts. Her eyes were alert, scanning the station outside. But she turned to smile at him as he approached. "Jared," she said softly, "you're early today. I wanted to see if you had noticed anything unusual," he said, sliding into the chair across from her. She raised an eyebrow. "Unusual? On Nova Prima?" She smiled. "Everything is unusual if you notice closely enough." Jared laughed softly. I guess I've learned that from you. Alara's smile deepened. Good. Humans notice. We observe, adapt, and create. That's why we're here. And that's why we endure. Machines can calculate, aliens can adapt, but humans make sense of what others cannot. Jared nodded, reflecting on the past few weeks. They had survived a station-wide crisis, solved problems that the AI could not handle, and uncovered patterns that had gone unnoticed by aliens and machines alike. And now, with Alara, he understood something deeper. Humans had more than survival skills. They had empathy, intuition, and the ability to form connections that gave them strength and purpose. Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden alarm. Lights flickered across the station as the AI's voice echoed through the corridors. System anomaly detected. Power fluctuations critical. Immediate response required. Jared's stomach tightened. He and Alara exchanged a glance, a silent understanding passing between them. This was their world, the place where humans could shine, where instinct and creativity mattered more than rigid programming or preset procedures. They moved quickly through the corridors, their steps synchronized. This time, the anomalies were more complex. Systems conflicted, communications were disrupted, and some sections of the station had gone offline entirely. The AI tried to compensate, recalculating endlessly, but it was obvious that it could not resolve everything alone. Alara tapped her tablet, eyes scanning rapidly. The AI is stuck in loops. It's analyzing problems sequentially, but they are interdependent. If we don't intervene, the station could face widespread shutdowns. Jared took a deep breath. Then let's do what humans do best. Together, they improvised. They bypassed faulty circuits, rerouted power manually, and synchronized the station's modules in ways no algorithm could anticipate. Aliens observed in awe, some cautiously assisting, but it was clear the humans were leading. Every step was guided by intuition, by a sense of patterns, by the ability to notice what others overlooked. Hours passed, but Jared felt no fatigue, only focus. Every action he took, every choice, was amplified by the presence of Alara. They worked seamlessly, their combined human instinct turning chaos into order. They were more than individuals. They were a team. A demonstration of what humans could achieve when they trusted themselves and each other. Finally, the last module stabilized. Lights returned to normal. Communications were restored, and the station hummed with renewed life. The AI's voice was calm again, almost deferential, as though recognizing that humans had succeeded where machines could not. Alara leaned back against the railing, her eyes soft but alert. Humans notice, humans adapt, humans connect. That's why we matter, and that's why we survive. Jared nodded, feeling pride swell in his chest. He looked at the monitors, at the functioning station, and realized that their success was more than technical. It was proof of humanity's unique value. They had solved what no one else could, because they were human curious, intuitive, adaptable, and capable of understanding complexity beyond raw calculation. After the crisis passed, they returned to the café. It was late. The station quiet. The neon lights casting soft reflections across the floor. Jared watched Alara carefully, noticing her calm composure, the subtle confidence in her movements, the way her eyes reflected both the artificial lights of the station and the natural curiosity of humans. You know, he said, finally breaking the silence. I think we've proven something important. Alara tilted her head. Oh? And what is that? That humans are special, not just smart, not just adaptable, but uniquely capable. We notice what others overlook. We connect where others cannot. We create solutions that no machine or alien could anticipate. And we do it together. Ah, Alara smiled, the kind of smile that made his heart race and his mind feel clearer at the same time. Exactly, and that is what makes humans invaluable, not just aboard Nova Prima, but anywhere in the universe. They shared a moment of silence, watching the glowing gas giant through the cafe's window. Jared felt a profound sense of belonging. He had always known humans were different, But now he understood the depth of that difference. It was in their intuition, their empathy, their creativity, and the way they could connect with each other to achieve extraordinary things. "You know," he said softly, "I never thought I'd feel this way in space. I thought I'd just float through life, working, surviving, noticing nothing. But now, I feel alive. And it's because of humans, and because of you." Ilara's eyes softened. Humans notice more than they think. And sometimes, noticing the right person, the right opportunity, makes all the difference. Jared smiled. "Maybe it's me and you then. Exploring, noticing, understanding. Together." Her small laugh was like music in the quiet cafe. "Maybe it is," she said, her voice gentle but certain. Over the next few weeks, their bond deepened. They explored Nova Prima together. Not just its systems and modules, but its life. They observed alien visitors, studied human and alien behavior, and tested the boundaries of human creativity. Every day revealed something new, another glitch, another anomaly, another opportunity for humans to shine. And every day, they discovered more about each other. The other humans aboard Nova Prima began to notice as well. Conversations shifted, confidence grew, and a sense of pride in human capability spread quietly through the station. Where once humans had been just another species among many, they now stood out not because they were the strongest or fastest, but because they could adapt, improvise, and connect in ways no one else could. One evening, as they watched the swirling storms of the gas giant from the observation deck, Jared felt a surge of hope. "Ilara," he said softly, "I think humans have a future here, a real one, not just surviving, but thriving. And it's not because of technology, or aliens, or even rules. It's because of what we are, and what we do together." Ilara nodded, her eyes reflecting the orange and red clouds below. "Yes. And maybe, just maybe, we can show others that humans are more than passengers in the universe. We are observers, creators, connectors. We notice, we adapt, we thrive, and when we do it together, we can change everything." Jared reached for her hand. "Then, let's do it. Not just survive, not just adapt, but thrive. Together." She placed her hand over his, a quiet affirmation of everything they had accomplished and everything yet to come. "Together," she agreed. As the stars twinkled beyond the viewport, they stood side by side, ready to face the universe not as mere residents of a space station, but as humans fully alive, fully aware, and fully capable. The universe was vast, full of challenges and mysteries. But humans had something that no AI or alien could replicate: the ability to notice, to connect, to adapt, and to thrive. And with that advantage, Jared and Ilara knew that whatever the future held, they would face it together. Because humans were special. Humans were powerful. Humans could survive, adapt, and create meaning in a universe that often seemed indifferent. And humans, especially humans who noticed each other, could thrive anywhere. Nova Prima was just the beginning.